Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sleepless Cinematic Podcast, where we explore our shared love for watching and discussing movies, recorded in the late after-work hours, often in lieu of a good night's rest. I'm Madeline.
I'm Emilio.
And I'm Julian. And we're talking tonight to to recap and reflect on our cycle of high school movies, which we just recently finished up.
Yeah, keeping it real low stakes.
It does feel like we were just in that world for a really long time, but it's almost odd to be, I think, on the other side of it. I had just become so accustomed to watching a new high school movie like once every week or two.
I would agree. And maybe that's one way to start talking about the idea of how high school never truly leaves us. And as a result, high school movies feel like they last longer. I don't know.
Almost as if, life goes on, but they stay the same age.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
Well, part of what this made me realize, too, it's not just our own focus on high school movies for the podcast, but just how many movies there are in general that are high school movies. To the point that I earlier this week decided to watch a movie out of simple interest, and I didn't even think about it at first, but this is totally a high school movie, and one that isn't kind of an interesting companion to a lot of things that we've talked about recently. I'll say a few details. I want to see if either of you can guess what this movie is. This is a high school movie with a macabre edge, not with the flair of Heathers, but still with a darkness and a humor, but also, by contrast, a much more muted, subdued tone. And also a debut feature, like a bunch of other movies we've discussed. Any guesses?
Debut feature.
Is it a movie you've seen before?
No.
Okay.
Can you give us like a decade?
90s.
90s. Okay.
Late 90s at that.
I was going to say Jawbreaker, but that's a little peppier. That's a little bit more like Clueless meets Heathers.
I haven't seen that, but from what I've heard, I would have guessed that.
Have you logged this on Letterboxd yet?
No.
And it's a darker.
Movie. It's funny, but it's not a comedy.
Oh, it's not a comedy. Okay.
Yeah. I can give you a stronger hint.
Yeah, give us a
stronger hint. Maybe even an actor. Maybe that's too easy.
Okay. Criterion Channel right now.
Oh, the Virgin Suicides?
That's it.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's the Virgin Suicides.
Is that your first time seeing it?
It was my first time seeing it.
Oh, that's a really good one, isn't it?
It is.
It's very, you're right. Sofia Coppola.
Yeah. But it's a big theme. Like debuts are a big theme throughout this cycle with these movies. And that's, directorial debut for her, feature directorial anyway, but also breakout movie for Kirsten Dunst and Josh Hartnett as actors. And
Giovanni Ribisi
as the narrator.
That's correct. Yeah. Oh, we don't really see him.
Although he had been in Saving Private Ryan before then.
That's true. And I guess Kirsten Dunst had been in Jumanji and Small Soldiers. So
yeah, she was a child
nonetheless,
actor.
like career-defining performances for all of them.
Yeah. Sure. She hadn't done Bring It On yet, which is another high school film.
Yeah, it's true. But it's just funny to me that I decided to watch that out of simple interest, and I'm like, oh, this fits so well with all the things we've been talking about.
Yeah. Have you seen a high school themed movie recently?
I think at this point we will have already released our I Saw the TV Glow episode, most likely, by the time this comes out. So I think that doesn't spend too much time in high school specifically, but we see them kind of go through a similar coming of age. We see them in several different stages of their life, those two main characters. But I think that once we got through this cycle and I started reminding myself that movies can take place in other settings, I haven't returned to high school, I don't think.
Got it.
But I have been watching Bridgerton, which is not in high school, but also focuses on, I think they're meant to be slightly older, but probably not by much.
I'm not very knowledgeable about that show, but is it set even remotely close in time to Jane Austen's Emma?
So Bridgerton has just released their the first 4 episodes of season 3, and one of the characters is reading Emma.
Of course.
Oh, little intertextual stuff there.
Yeah, that also made me think, too, of, going back to the Criterion Channel. It's May when we're recording this, and it probably won't be up by the time this is released. But another movie that's on there right now is Massacre at Central High.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Which I thought after we talked Heathers, I think, I'm curious about that movie now.
I would watch it with the caveat that I think it really works if you are a fan of Heathers. Because it is kind of interesting and it kind of goes places, but it's not like a particularly good movie.
Yeah.
It's got ideas, though, which I'll give it credit for. But I'd say watch it. I'd be curious to hear what you say.
Probably strong as a time capsule, too. Good or bad, this evokes its time interestingly.
Kind of, but it's really going for, I mean, one of its odd charms is that it doesn't feel like it's defined by the era that it was made in. I think you could make an argument that it could be a movie that took place in the 60s or the 80s. Like it's kind of, it's going for stuff. Like I will say that it's going for things. Yeah.
Well, I kind of felt that way about the Virgin Suicides too, but that the only like detail that dates that movie to me was the music.
Oh, the music, Heart is all over that.
Where there's Heart and there's like Kiss records and stuff like that. But
right.
But otherwise, I mean, it felt kind of, to use the Kurt Vonnegut term, unstuck in time. Like it's kind of it could be kind of any time in the last 50 years or so.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you guys have thoughts about the idea of kind of high school as a setting being particularly interesting or having potential or to be a setting for an interesting movie? Any thoughts?
I mean, I think that the high school experience, it's universal in a lot of ways. Like there are different brands of high school experiences. And I think we got into that a little bit where like some of us would relate more towards the experience. Like Julian, you having gone to high school in New York, you felt your experience was maybe more similar to the experience of Fame in a lot of ways, even though you didn't go to performing arts high school. Whereas like growing up in a smaller town in the South, I felt like Dazed and Confused was much closer to my own experience. So I think that that's one of the cool things about high school movies is that they can kind of touch anybody's experience from that time, because most people, at least most people in America and throughout the world, have some kind of high school experience.
Secondary education or something.
And even if you don't, like even if you're homeschooled or whatever, you're still coming of age and experiencing a lot of the similar emotions and hormones and these social dynamics with the people that you know. And I think those of us, like as we are in high school and watching these films and are connecting with them and seeing people going through these like similar experiences, or totally like I can't relate to anything happening in Heather's because I don't have a boyfriend trying to blow up my school or whatever. But you still kind of understand like the angst that they're going through. Like there's still the overall, sense of I think kinship.
Yeah.
So I think that can help you relate when you're in high school, but I think also as we, age away from that time, you can kind of look back and feel some mix of nostalgia, but also probably like, you're glad to be away from it, and now you can enjoy the entertainment of it, without having to be deep in it.
Yeah. I feel like you hit basically everything that I was going to say too. Feeling like it's just a very universal time in people's lives. I think everybody has some opinion or have some feelings that they had in high school that are still with them. And and you're right too that high school is just this like really cool setting, I think, where everybody can relate in some way to what people are going through because it immediately places people in a time in their lives. Yeah, truly universal.
Yeah.
And I think several of these films also start to imply where characters are going to go post high school as well. Like obviously, I think Booksmart is the one that touches on that the most, but you have a little bit of that in other films as well.
Absolutely.
Like, post graduation, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, their whole lives are ahead of them. And
right.
I think that's an interesting like time period to look back on and reflect on in your own life.
And I think the film that does that the most on the nose way, other than Booksmart, is Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yeah.
Where that's, I think, the only one that we looked at that has that reel at the end of like,
where are they now?
Yeah, where are they now? That like Mike Damone got busted for scalping tickets.
Yeah. Oh, right.
And, that's the one that just came to mind for whatever reason, or that Rat and Stacy are
in a passionate love affair.
Love affair.
Still haven't gone all the way.
Yeah, that's the only one that tells you anything about it, but it doesn't tell you that far in the future.
So Linda is, I think, and I guess Judge Reinhold, I think, are the ones that are actually graduating at the end of Fast Times. So we get a little bit of like, where are they now? Tap a little bit into adulthood, whereas the others are just like next year when we're juniors or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that gets at another reason why high school is such a great setting for a movie is the finiteness of it. That high school, I mean, it's universal, but it is not all of anyone's life.
Right.
And like, I think the two big threads, in terms of narrative construction throughout all these movies, one of them is time. But then the other one for me that I noticed was relationships, where you have like Clueless is built on the arc of love life in large part, not exclusively, but it's a, salient detail of that movie just as well as Heathers. I mean, that's built around a relationship too, one that goes a drastically different direction, but still.
Right.
And then, Superbad and Booksmart have that as well.
And
although those movies are kind of like one crazy day.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of these things together. Yeah. I mean, Grease, that's another relationship movie. But yeah, so it seems kind of like time and relationships are things that carry these stories. And when you state it that broadly, those are pretty universal terms too. And I'm thinking now of Madeline, the point that you made when we talked about Amy Heckerling about how Clueless works at a high school in 1995. The same, not identically, but with similar strength to how Jane Austen's Emma worked in 1816, and how like that kind of story or certain kinds of stories, across times and settings work so well. And Emma's not even set in high school.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Which is one of the charms, I think, of how it was adapted.
Yeah.
Is that you kind of see it. And again, speaking to high school as a setting, it just, here's a world that this other story can be situated in. So kind of fun.
Like you were saying with the like span of time that these movies take place. We talked a little bit about this during the cycle. I find it so interesting that we had, as you said, Emilio, like One Crazy Night movies. We have 3 of those, right? So we have Booksmart, we have Superbad, and we have Dazed and Confused. And then we have a couple that are a full year, kind of exactly. Like Fast Times and Grease seem to both be a full year. There are some, I think, like Clueless and Heathers, it's like not fully the time period maybe isn't defined necessarily.
It kind of feels like Clueless is a year too.
Yeah, it feels like it.
Yeah. She's like working towards her driver's test or whatever.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But then obviously we have Fame, which is like the complete flip side of that. It's going through all of high school. I think it's interesting to look back on like that's the only one that did that of all the movies that we watched.
Right. Well, it's pretty ambitious
because it's difficult, and we got into that a little bit
that's
in
right.
the episode.
Kind of hard with casting, but points for trying. I'm with you guys. Also, I'm wondering if in seeing these films, I don't know if we've identified any shared traits that these movies have that make them particularly good or particularly interesting that maybe we saw that is kind of linking them. There's one thing actually that came to my mind that I was a little bit surprised by, which you mentioned when you were talking a little bit about high school as a setting, the idea of like nostalgia. Before this cycle of movies, I would have definitely leaned into. I'd been like, man, that is absolutely something. But some of these movies have nothing for me to do with nostalgia.
Yeah.
And that was kind of interesting. That doesn't necessarily make a good high school movie.
Yeah.
Anything for you guys? Anything?
I was thinking about how I think by definition, a lot of these have to have ensemble casts, and even movies that focus more specifically on a couple of characters, like with Heathers, obviously Veronica is the main character, and you cannot deny that. And like what's going on in her relationship and in her life is the central focus. We don't get a whole lot of the other characters unless they're kind of relating to what's happening with her specifically. Yeah. But even there, we have a pretty strong ensemble.
Right. Yeah.
They're just, I think their own stories are kind of second to what's happening with her, as opposed to like, Dazed and Confused or Fast Times, where they're all kind of on equal footing. But I think that the ensemble nature that you kind of have to use in a high school movie is really interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's true of Clueless as well, where there is one very clear main character, but all of the side characters are very interesting too.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. When you look at these movies, even the ones that have main characters and have robust ensembles around them, I think more often than not with these movies having maybe not one main character, but a main relationship, a main friendship is that's a good thread to carry it.
And Superbad definitely.
Superbad and Booksmart. I like how we were talking a little earlier about the kind of romantic relationships, but I like the idea of there are also friendships that can be the center of this.
Exactly. And then even in the bigger ensemble movies like Dazed and Confused or Fame, that you have a few friend groups who carry it.
And even in Heather's, like with so much of what Veronica is dealing with is specifically because of considering how she's navigated her social circles and is like thinking maybe she's done it the wrong way. Like she says very early on that she doesn't like her friends, you know, and so she kind of starts to go back and revisit some of these friendships that she maybe brushed aside.
Yeah, no, that's true. And so, yeah, friend groups, these can be wholesome or interesting places for things to grow, or in the case of Heather's, maybe something that we tap into to see how it's splintering, or has splintered. So that's I definitely see that
in the bonus features on the Heather's DVD that you lent us, Emilio. I mean, one detail that didn't come up in our conversation itself was that Dan Waters, the writer, I mean, he was speaking about why he was interested in high school in writing a story for that setting, and he said that like high school is such a vicious, petty time, and I love that about it. Something like that.
Yeah.
That it's like he's saying that like, yeah, it's, you know, it can be a terrible experience, and that's why it's so juicy.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say so too, and this leads a little bit also into something I was thinking of, which is I feel like a good high school movie is really aware of the fact that when stuff happens in high school, it can feel really important.
Yeah.
And it can almost sort of feel like it's, you know, you're bowled over by it all. And so the emotional resonance of your day-to-day life is pretty severe when you're in high school. And
I thought the same thing. I love that you brought that up because I had that written down and I like lost it in my notes. But everything at that age just like is the center of your world. Like feelings are bigger in high school. And that's, you know, like biological because of like puberty, but it also is just because your world is generally smaller.
Yeah.
And so when you have these major life experiences, which are crammed in disproportionately to a small amount of time,
right.
I think that it makes everything it makes everything take up your whole world in a really interesting way.
Yeah, I think going through all of these movies, in spite of the fact that these are all characters who are meant to be younger than any of us are right now, there was not one moment where any character did anything that made me want to say, "Oh, grow up." Like, but it's just, you know, to the point. But I mean, I'm talking about like the main characters. Okay, actually, I could think of one exception.
Okay,
and that is Seth in Superbad.
100%.
Yeah.
I was like, how are you saying this when we had to discuss Superbad?
Okay, well, you know, I noticed the qualifier too here. But for most of the other characters, thinking about someone like Montgomery in Fame.
Oh yeah, no,
who is like experiencing these emotions that are really, I think, universal. These are like the things he's experiencing in high school. You know, you can relate to them in any part of life.
Of course, yeah. And Montgomery and Brad Hamilton in Fast Times, they felt like two characters to have in conversation with one another, because the two of them also feel like they, whether it's by choice or by the hand they've been dealt in life, feel like they've had to grow up really fast.
Yeah.
And I also think that's like a really interesting thing to depict in a high school movie.
Or like Ralph Garcia too.
Yeah, in some respects. Although I think the movie kind of gives him some space to grow and kind of start off being really immature and feel like he has to figure out actually what kind of artist he wants to be, or what kind of discipline he wants to commit himself towards.
Whereas I think the implication is that Montgomery has been on his own for a while.
Exactly. Yeah. And with Brad, it's like he feels this pull to be the most grown-up version of himself.
Yeah.
So young. And that I think is a really interesting thing to consider too, you know, just the way that adulthood seems like it's just on the horizon.
Yeah,
you know,
and the characters who are being pulled into that more quickly, whether it be, you know, by choice or not.
Yeah.
And then the characters who maybe are clinging desperately to their golden years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Spicoli, perhaps, being one of them.
Or not in the case of Randall Pink Floyd. But then now that I think about it, there's some people in Dazed and Confused who could make me say, "Oh, grow up," too.
Yeah,
and
I feel like in most
someone,
movies, there's like, you know, in Heather's, there's like Kurt and Ram.
Yeah, but it's like in Dazed and Confused, maybe it's like Don or it's Darla or it's O'Banion.
Definitely Don.
Yeah, definitely O'Banion.
Yeah. For me, like Don is. he doesn't do the most offensive stuff,
Yeah.
but he's the most consistently idiotic.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously Wooderson, the issue with Wooderson is that he
Not
should
in
be
high school.
growing up. Like
Yeah.
his age is not defined, but at least early 20s, probably older.
Right.
So it's like, you really want to yell grow up at Wooderson
Yeah.
because he is a grown up.
Yeah.
That's true. That's
yeah,
very
and
true.
then give him a few more years, and he's really going to seem like a has-been.
Yeah,
I think he
yeah.
maybe already is starting
he's
to feel
he's
that
already
way.
he's already crested.
Some of the high schoolers, I think, are disillusioned by
Yeah.
him already.
Yeah.
Some of them still love him.
I
too.
think his
Yeah.
friends love him.
Yeah.
Right. And that's part of his appeal. You know, that's I think one of the reasons why we spend a lot of time talking about him as such an interesting character is he kind of sits in this in between.
Yeah.
You know, he is in some ways a picture of what adulthood might be like, but also the least adult kind of adult
Yeah.
that we could
Well,
be
it's like-
spending time with.
The fact is, he's getting older, but he wants to stay the same age.
Yeah, and he wants people around him too to stay the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was there a movie that we had maybe like a really unexpected response to? I'm good or bad? I'm really curious because I have maybe two.
So I have, two that were fresh viewings for me, and one that was a rewatch. And the rewatch for me was super bad because I just felt, even though I knew everything that happened in that movie, except for that montage that was censored out of television.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you guys saw
Yeah, that's
censored versions
for
of
the
that movie.
first time we got to
yeah.
see a very explicitly drawn scene.
Awesome.
But the thing, that was the movie where, of the ones I had seen the most, that was the one that registered the most differently seeing it as an adult.
Uh-huh.
Because, you know, when you watch it, like when I first saw it at age 15, it's just kind of, I think I just got the sense, yeah, this is a wild party movie. But then at watching it 12 years later, I'm like so concerned for the safety of all the characters and just realizing that not only are they stumbling into these precarious situations, like precarious is an understatement. There are some genuinely like traumatizing things in that
Of
movie.
course.
Yeah, they're in some real danger at certain points.
Yeah.
Seth gets hit by cars multiple times.
Right.
Twice.
I mean,
and,
McLovin
viciously hit by cars.
McLovin gets abducted by cops.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
true. The cops, I think, are still my favorite part of that movie.
They are very, very entertaining.
They're really funny.
But I mean, that's a movie that I, in the first 15 to 20 minutes of rewatching it, got pretty nervous.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know, man. Maybe this has not aged well.
Yeah.
And I think it picks back up, and I really did enjoy rewatching Superbad. But I gotta say, I was pretty nervous at the very beginning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then-
some of these movies don't age terribly well,
Mhm.
I think, in some respects.
I think we picked some pretty dang strong movies for our cycle.
Yes. Yeah.
Save Loser.
I really enjoyed almost all of these.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Loser, not technically a high school movie.
That's
So-
true.
I
Oh,
mean,
you're right.
that
you're
really
right.
was just icing on the cake.
So I
anyway.
think I can reasonably say I enjoyed all of the high school movies
There we
in our
go.
cycle.
There
Yeah.
we go. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
To varying degrees, obviously, but I think we made some strong choices.
I think so too.
Yeah.
On that particular note, the unexpected response for me was Clueless.
I had kind
Hot
of that too.
Dog, that is such a good movie.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's way better than I remember it. And I also think, thinking back on it for myself, I saw that movie before I saw Heathers, and Heathers had such a specific effect on how I would, from that point on, look at high school movies. It was literally like a BCAD kind of moment in my life.
Yeah.
And so I felt like I was watching Clueless almost for the first time. It hit me like I saw something completely fresh and really fun. And I had a freaking blast
Yeah.
watching Clueless.
Yeah, like I think going into that, I expected it. This was my first time seeing Clueless too. I think I expected it to be good, but I came out of that thinking this is a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
fantastic movie.
Yeah. for sure.
And I think you were talking a moment ago about how well certain movies age, and what's interesting about Clueless is I think it's a movie very clearly situated in its time in 1995, but it's still amazing to watch nearly 30 years later.
And it's so stylistic for
Yeah.
that time period.
Right.
Right.
So it doesn't feel like it's a movie that is stuck in that time necessarily as much as it's a movie that it feels less like you're looking backward and more just like you're looking elsewhere.
Yeah, and it's heightened even then. Like even at the time, it's heightened and, as I said, very stylized. So I think that can make a film firmly set in a time period age better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I would totally agree.
Yeah. And then, I mean, going back to this question of unexpected responses, I mean, I have to say that I got really into Fame as well. And that movie, I mean, yeah, that was the one we all hadn't seen. And kind of similarly, I thought, like, I went in thinking, okay, I know this is going to be good. But coming out of that movie, I was just like, wow, why did I wait? Like, I just was really, like, you know, even for like the strengths and weaknesses of that movie, I just really loved its depiction of high school in New York City specifically.
Yeah.
The site specificity did a lot for me, you know, for obvious reasons. But I think just the scope of experience in it, we were talking in that conversation about how it has such a long shadow over movies that come after, and I totally see that.
Yeah. It's interesting because we saw some other kind of R-rated high school movies for this. Heathers, Dazed and Confused, Fast Times, Superbad, and I feel like, you know, these other R-rated high school movies, I think, are kind of leaning more into the humor, the kind of bawdiness that a high school movie can have in order to create a good experience. But Fame is the one that really felt like you were seeing sort of like a prestige film about young people. I don't know. It was a unique film, I think, of all the ones that we saw.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we talked a little bit about is that because of Fame taking place in a performing arts high school and just taking place in a city high school where there are students coming in from all different walks of life and all different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of it, is that you're also like seeing kids who are dealing with real life issues. They're dealing with poverty. They're dealing with like sick family members. And like, I think part of that is because it is like it's a wider scope of like the backgrounds of these characters in Fame, as opposed to like Heathers seems to take place in a pretty affluent area.
Right.
When we were talking about Heathers, I didn't say this in the main conversation, but one thing that stuck out to me was I felt like that movie was kind of a noir in some ways, like a neo-noir. You know,
I can see that.
Yeah, for its, you know, it starts off very unassumingly, quickly shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of discovery of something beneath a very pleasant surface in it. And, you know, those are a lot of the hallmarks of neo-noir. You know, a little bit like a movie like Blue Velvet, that beneath...
That was just what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that beneath this very picture perfect image of suburban life that you see, that all of these problems still exist and they will come through.
Yeah, and really, now that I think about it, Clueless, I think, is a better example of like also taking place in a very affluent area. And they're definitely just like, you know, in Heathers, people are obviously like, you know, dealing with extremely difficult issues even at their young ages. In Clueless, not so much. Like it's like the stakes are much lower in Clueless.
If they are, everything's kind of been airbrushed.
Yeah.
And also that like Sherwood, Ohio and Heathers is kind of in any town, USA.
Yeah.
But Clueless is in Beverly Hills.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Did any of these films like stir up any feelings about our own time in high school? I'm slightly curious about that.
Well, I think that I mean, there was a point that we kind of all collectively made earlier about these movies treating their characters with adult emotions.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe what spoke to me personally the most about how they all operate. Like looking at them now in this place of reflection and thinking about my own time in high school and thinking that, you know, knowing all of the things good and bad that happened in that period. I mean, I think that it really feels more connected to my adult emotions than I would have expected at the time. It's making me think of a point actually about a middle school movie about Bo Burnham's 8th grade.
Yes.
That I attended a Q&A when that movie came out with Bo Burnham himself. And I believe that he said something about the emotions that hit you as hormones arrive in 8th grade. Those are emotions you're going to have for the rest of your life.
Right.
And then high school is when you really start experiencing them for years at a time.
Right.
And so I think that for all of these movies, just the emotional respect with which they treat their characters was something that really spoke to me. And I think it's part of why they have such staying power.
I love that.
Very well said.
Thanks.
Yeah. I don't know if I have much more to add to that.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add either. I wanted to say something slightly off topic that I need to put on mic somewhere. So when we were talking about Fast Times at Ridgemont High, we were talking about how Amy Heckerling had to cut out a full frontal nude scene of Mike Damone. And I was so confused by this because I was like, there is a full frontal nude scene in this movie. And you guys were like, no, there's not. And so I went home and I went back to the Criterion DVD that I had from the New York Public Library. And I can definitively say that, yes, the full frontal nude scene is in the version on the Criterion DVD. And so I had seen that movie before, and will say I had not remembered a full frontal nude scene of Mike Damone before that. But I was so sure that I saw it this time that I just want to go on record and say that it is there. And if you would like to see it, you can get the Criterion version of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It's very blink and you miss it. Like, it's so fast, but it is there.
Well, thank you, Criterion, for showing us Robert Romanus in so much detail.
Exactly. I love that.
So one thing, I mean, sometimes when we put these cycles together, there will be a movie that we don't officially decide to talk about, but kind of, sneaks through.
Sneaks in, yeah.
Yeah. It's maybe not one movie, but in the Perceptions of Sanity cycle, that whole Douglas Sirk thread was going through that. Yeah. And I feel like for this cycle, that movie that we didn't officially discuss, but did rear its head a lot, was Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Not just being a very popular movie, but kind of a nexus of a lot of the things that we see in other movies we've discussed, where it doesn't have quite the extremity of Heathers, but it does have a lot of similar thematic content.
Right.
But then it also has, a little bit of the flair of like Grease. And I think that's probably maybe more than anything we've talked about. Maybe that's a more familiar movie to the general viewer on the whole.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
As far as like the three of us were familiar with all of these films, except for maybe Loser.
Yeah.
But it's
all apologies to Loser. I feel
but
like
it's interesting the amount of people I think I've spoken to as we've started to release these episodes who are like, oh yeah, that movie, like, who in response to a lot of the films that we covered, even though they seem like kind of these like gargantuan films of high school filmography.
Yeah. And I think also these movies have outsized importance in our lives because we love movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think all of those people have seen Mean Girls.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's probably the most ubiquitously seen film. I think Grease might
Grease
for a different
is another
generation.
one. Yeah.
That's a fair thing to bring up.
The one other anecdote I want to quickly mention too is we didn't talk about John Hughes here, but we got a few different forms of the
That's who I
Hughes.
thought you were going to bring up.
Yeah.
He was the Spectre.
Yeah.
that was hanging out.
I mean, he always is, I think, when we're talking about high school movies. I think when we were discussing like who to do for Close Up, we were like, well, John Hughes is too easy.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying.
But then also, the two movies I'm thinking of specifically here are Dazed and Confused and Heathers, where Richard Linklater himself said he specifically wanted to do kind of an anti-John Hughes thing.
Yeah.
But whereas his avenue to anti-John Hughes was realism, and, a specific time span, with Heathers, it was just, completely upending, in that movie's view are kind of glossy visions of high school.
Right.
And just, perverting it with dark comedy, which I think it's another great thing about high school movies too, is that you get quite a genre span.
Yeah.
And I think the two movies that exemplify that best in our cycle are Grease and Heathers, where Heathers is the dark comedy, Grease is the musical.
Yeah.
And then along the way, you get a few other, you get some raunchy comedies, you get some big ensemble dramas, and we didn't really talk about it, but there are high school horror movies too.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's just, that's part of why high school is such a great setting for movies, is just the genre durability too.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
Let's close this out with a little round of superlatives. Since we've spent so much time with high school on the brain, I think it is only fitting for us to remember and look back on some of these characters in a superlative fashion. Yeah.
So the superlative, I didn't get this, but the one that I vied for in high school was best hair.
You lost this. Interesting.
I will like to think I came in third place. I know for a fact there were some friends who were polling for me in high school.
That's nice.
But,
so you've had this due for a long time.
Yeah. For what it's worth, though, the people who did win were worthy winners.
Okay.
On the record.
Yes.
Not bitter.
Not better, no. But I would give best hair of the movies we've discussed to Montgomery from Fame.
Oh.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to counter with Danny from Grease.
Well, he does have quite the hair. I'm surprised you're not mentioning this because for me, best hair is Theo from Booksmart. That glorious mane of
his
long,
is also very good.
Come on, that's some Samson-esque stuff right there.
Well, okay, and on that note, Ron Slater from Dazed and Confused, he's a good one too.
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah. Probably that's the hair most like mine, probably.
Yeah.
I would say though that Theo's hair, I think, is its own like character.
Yeah.
Wait, does he cut his hair at some point?
I don't
No,
think
but
so.
he puts it up in a ponytail
That's
when
what it is.
Mrs. Fine walks in.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Most changed since freshman year. I have an obvious answer, which is Ralph.
Yes.
From Fame. I think maybe is kind of the front runner for this.
I would also say Doris as well.
Yeah.
I think in almost an opposite way.
Right.
And that she seems like she's so sheltered. They give her like pigtails at the beginning in the audition scene. And she really comes into her own as an artist and also has this strong friend group and starts to pursue this romantic relationship in a way that I think a lot of people would expect Doris to not be capable of at the very beginning.
I like that. That's a perfectly good point.
Yeah.
That was the obvious answer, but I'm going to go for a stealth answer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say Mitch from Dazed and Confused.
Okay.
Because I don't think he's really found his scene and his crew.
Interesting.
In that. And I think that Crazy Day is going to have a longer shelf life for him socially than he is probably ready for and probably even really wants.
Yeah.
And so I think his freshman year, he's going to be looked at as hot shit.
Big dog.
But I would say that much like Wiley Wiggins, who opted out of acting, I think Mitch just wants to play baseball and go home and read comics and stuff.
Maybe he leads a movement to end paddling when he is a rising senior.
I would love that, but so much in that movie was like, well, we had to go through this, so now we get to do it to you.
That's true.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
All right. I've got to go to biggest prankster. And the obvious answer here is Spicoli.
Yes.
But what I remember hearing Cameron Crowe talk about I think on the commentary or possibly reading about is that in real life, the pizza getting delivered to the classroom was not done by the guy he based Spicoli off of.
That's right.
It was done by the guy he based Rat off of.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that perhaps we don't see any of Rat's prankster antics, but we don't know that they don't happen.
That's true.
So I'm just going to throw that out there.
That's true.
That's an
there could be a
interesting point.
whole double life that he's living.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There were a few here where I put as a tie Jeff Spicoli and Travis Birkenstock. Actually, Biggest Prankster was one of them, but also Class Clown.
Yeah.
And, well, most likely to cheer you up. We talked about them being, rays of sunshine in their own ways.
I would definitely say Travis.
I also put Travis Birkenstock for Brightest Smile.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Just in case, listeners, in case you're wondering,
he's
we have
pretty dreamy.
We have a whole list in front of us of different superlative categories. One other that I want to talk about, because I like to think I have a bit of a dark horse answer for this one, most likely to be president.
Yeah, because there are obvious answers to this, I think, which
Molly
is
from Booksmart.
Molly from Booksmart and even Amy from Booksmart. I think
Yeah.
the two of them from Booksmart are the obvious answer.
Yeah,
for
they
that.
seem very interested in finding a career path towards politics.
So what is your dark horse answer, Julian?
My dark horse answer is Heather Duke.
She definitely seems to have some potential.
Yeah.
She definitely knows how to play the game.
Yeah, exactly. She is kind of, once Heather Chandler is out of the picture, she's the Heather apparent.
Yes.
Heather apparent.
Heather apparent, yeah.
But
So maybe she has a vice presidential run in her future and then just
Maybe.
has to wait it out from there.
Yeah. And maybe she
can call on a JD-like figure to put an end to the president so that she can assume that duty.
Maybe like JD to her is like Paul Manafort to Trump or something like that.
You were mentioning Brightest Smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go just with a pretty obvious answer here. I'm going with Sandy from Grease.
Sandy's got the brightest
She's got a
smile.
pretty great smile.
She has a great smile.
Yeah, Danny Zuko does too.
Yeah, totally. I think they both do. I have to say that I feel like the few times we do get a smile from Veronica, I definitely think Winona Ryder can just light up a room.
I'm going to go Winona Ryder, best eyes.
Totally.
For best eyes, I had a tie between Jules and Becca and Superbad.
Ah, okay.
I mean, Emma Stone has these iconic wide eyes, but then Becca, I mean, like that was like one of the few characters throughout these movies. The actress who plays her, Martha McIsaac, I was just kind of, I guess she was just kind of the presence where I was kind of like, yeah, I'd want to talk to her if I was in a room with her.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever happened to her? Do we know?
I looked her up. I think she kind of just had a family and retreated from the spotlight.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
But yeah, I also, related to that point, I don't think this is like objectively the people who fit this the best, but for the cutest couple superlative, I put Evan and Becca from Superbad as an answer. I think the more obvious one is Cher and Josh from Clueless.
I had Stacy and Rat from Fast Times.
Okay, yeah.
I think by the end of that movie, the kind of final notes they have.
Yeah.
They're very cute. And then obviously Danny and Sandy too.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
We have to send some love their way.
Yeah, but Evan and Becca and Superbad, I don't know. I talked about it in the episode, like I just found some things actually pretty sweet about their dynamic. And I thought that was, a little bit of a dark horse move in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Evan from Superbad, I would like to nominate him for Life of the Party. And yes, specifically Evan, just because I think that obviously all of Superbad is focusing on like these two are finally going to go out and party for kind of the first time. But the thing I love about Evan is that scene where he is singing.
Killer pipes. I was waiting for it. Yeah.
He has Exactly. He just brings so much emotion to that. I think that if he makes that his party trick, where he just like gets up on a table and just busts out a random ballad, I think that people would be really into that.
So
Karaoke
he
King.
needs to take that a step further. Like he needs to realize that moment could be a defining moment in his life that he can just keep tapping into.
Yes.
Ah, I like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, those guys were like moved to tears.
Exactly.
Yeah. I don't know if that was like the drugs or, but still, still
my
tears.
brother did not come all the way from Scottsdale just to not be sung to.
Exactly.
Whatever the quote is.
Oh my God. And come on, the Guess Who. Just speaking right to my heart. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would say most athletic. I hate to say this, not Danny Zuko from Grease.
Not Danny Zuko.
No, I wasn't thinking him. I was thinking Charles Jefferson from Fast Times.
I think that's probably the obvious answer.
If the team from Fast Times and with Charles Jefferson play the team from Grease with Tom, Sandy's other boyfriend, as quarterback, who do you think will win? I think there's an obvious answer.
I think so too. I feel like Sandy's first boyfriend is a bit of a klutz.
Played by Lorenzo Lamas.
I think Forrest Whitaker is just smoking
Absolutely.
that team.
Yeah.
So he's mowing down people.
There's an argument for Evan from Superbad there too, because of how much he can run.
Fastest guy in the
That's
world.
true. Yes. Yeah, and it's not shown to us, but it seems like he might have some soccer skills.
Yeah.
Like people there
Maybe.
want him to keep playing, so maybe there's an assumption that he was like one of the first picked.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Could be.
Maybe Evan is sneakily the best athlete in all of these movies.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's sneakily the alpha of that friend group.
Yeah,
in
we
Superbad.
mentioned that for sure.
Yeah, that would fit. Another one that we have on the list is most gullible, and I like to think my answer for this could be a little surprising too. I chose Veronica from Heathers.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think so too. I
Yeah.
totally
Yeah.
believe it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember just thinking throughout that movie, and I think I said on the episode that I'm like, you're smarter than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, eventually she wises up, but for like a good half of the movie,
She puts too much trust in him.
falls for the Ishluga bullets.
Exactly. Amongst
exactly.
other things.
Yeah. Well, one we haven't mentioned yet too is Loudest. The loudest person. Mine is a tie between Leroy from Fame and Darla from Dazed and Confused.
I think
Yeah,
Darla is
Darla's
absolutely
good.
the loudest.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good choice. I mean, I was just going to say Seth from Superbad.
that's a
Yeah,
good
he
one,
is
too.
very loud.
He is very loud.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about Seth, I think, is like he can get kind of meek also. Like when
Yes.
he's being bullied, the loudness goes away. But when it's just him and Evan and McLovin, it's like he is at 12 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with Leroy, I mean, the main scene is just that property damage moment.
That is pretty loud. Yeah.
And while we're talking about volume, for Quietest, I'm going to go back and once again say Sandy's other boyfriend from Grease because he does not have any lines.
Oh my gosh, you're absolutely right.
I was
He
going to
does
say,
not speak once.
I was thinking of someone maybe a little bit more obvious for that, which is Martha Dunstock from Heathers.
That she does have one
Yeah.
line.
One line, but she's still like part
I
of.
like that.
You know,
Yeah.
it's at the end of the movie, and she's the quiet person for all the time leading up.
That is true.
That
I
one
like
line hits because it's the only line.
Interesting. I see an argument for both of
both.
these.
Yeah.
Okay. Best dressed. Is there anybody but Cher?
It has to be Cher.
Has to be
In a
Cher.
landslide.
Yeah.
She
No
has that
competition.
incredible computer like program that helps her get dressed. And I
The
guess,
only competition is Dion.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's about
It's
it.
one of them,
Yeah,
period.
it's 1A and 1B. We were not getting anybody from any other movie.
And it's friendly competition.
Yes,
Exactly.
of course.
On a similar note, best personality, I honestly went with Josh from Clueless.
But he's not a high school student.
That's true. That is true.
I was
He
gonna
was-
say,
That's why.
yeah.
It's not far away from it. Yeah, I think, when you compare him to, say, the Jason Biggs character from Loser.
I was just about to go there. Yes,
Yeah.
I think I think the intention was for him to be much closer to somebody like Josh than the finished product of that film actually made us feel.
Yeah.
So yes,
Yeah.
I like that.
And then another one, most likely to succeed. My pick there was Coco from Fame.
Ah,
Yeah.
Just the most enterprising character.
Definitely.
I want that so badly for her after kind of the last thing that we see happen to
Oh,
her.
yeah.
She
Of
definitely
course.
deserves good things her way.
But you also get the sense that even though, she lands in a bad situation there, that she's going to learn from that and she'll be have her guard up against that kind of thing in the future.
Also, who's the synth player, the keyboardist?
Bruno Martelli.
Yeah, so I think maybe her and Bruno, they've worked together a little bit already. I think that they can really help each other out because I think he's another one that definitely keep your eye on him. He doesn't want to be center stage, but I think he would be a great accompanist for her.
For most likely to succeed, I chose Peter from Heathers. Do you guys remember Peter?
I'm trying to remember.
He is the one who is doing like the charity work. He's the one who works for Yearbook, who's not the head of the hotel or
not
whatever.
the manager from
Not
the Sweet Life of Zach
thank
and
you.
Cody.
But he's also the one who goes up to the TV crew and asks if he can get a copy of this for his application for Harvard.
Yes.
He checks many boxes here. He's in a lot of extracurricular activities, the charity stuff. I think is a real big plus. That's a pretty big signifier that he has his heart in the right place. And who doesn't want a banging portfolio, for an Ivy League school?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I really do think that there's an argument to be made for Cher, as you said, like with the charity work. She is clearly coming around. Charity. She's clearly like getting to a point in her life and in her high school career where she wants to give back. And she also has a certain amount of privilege in several areas. So I think that cannot be denied.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
When we're talking about the likelihood of success.
She definitely has the best starting point for that kind of thing. But you're right. Personality wise, she's really coming into her own. And we might see big things from Cher.
Yeah.
One that we haven't discussed yet is actually the first one that's written on the list, which is Friendliest. Who are the friendliest characters? And for me, it was a tie between Evan from Superbad and Amy from Booksmart.
Both good. I would like to nominate Frenchie from Grease.
I'm with you.
Thank you.
I'm Team Frenchie on this. Frenchie is so cool.
I'm trying to remember the Beauty
She's
School Dropout.
Beauty School
Dropout. Yeah. No, but she's so great because she's clearly like in the Pink.
Yeah, she's in the Pink
clique,
Ladies.
but she's the most inviting and she's the most understanding of the fact that like there are people that feel any number of ways as they move through life. And so, I'm with you. Team
and
Frenchie
she's the
all
one
way.
that brings Sandy in. Like we don't see them meet. We see them talking from the very first time we see Frenchie. So it seems like maybe it's just like, oh, I just, met this other girl walking into school and now we're best friends and I'm going to take her to my other friends because I know she's probably very nervous. She's in a different country. And so I think Frenchie really goes above and beyond for someone who I think we can assume to be a complete stranger to her.
Yeah.
Love it.
Did you list Sandy from Most Likely to Travel the World?
No, I didn't. I listed Amy because she is canonically going to Botswana to make tampons.
That's right.
Yeah.
I like that.
But I did list Sandy for best accent.
I for best accent, I did Ralph Garcia from Fame.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his is
New
good
York.
too.
Yeah. The most New York of all the people situated in New York in that film.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other accents we might have.
I mean, we've got some Southern accents in
That's
Dazed
true.
and Confused, so I feel like you could go Wooderson if that was your thing.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna stick with Sandy on this.
Cool.
Yeah, and you have like a couple of really put on Italian accents in Greece as well.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I could definitely see
From
that.
I forget his name, but the one who is supposed to be in high school but looks like he's 60.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
We also have to talk about most likely to be late to graduation, because in one of these movies, 2 characters are late to graduation.
That's true. But they don't seem like.
I don't think they would have been voted most likely
totally
to be late to
agree.
graduation.
Spicoli would have been voted that.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Well, my pick, I mean, similarly for Life of the Party, my pick, maybe an obvious one, was Gigi from Booksmart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's the one who doesn't even go to graduation.
Well,
Yeah.
no, she does go there. She's playing the piano.
I know, but I'm just saying, right. That's right.
She's playing the Moonlight Sonata.
Yes.
Playing in quotes, because you can tell Billy Lord's not actually doing that.
Yeah, she's going the opposite way on the piano.
Yeah.
I could totally, though, see her as being somebody who is just way too cool for that and just gets her diploma in the mail or something.
Yeah.
I would like to talk a little bit about Biggest Flirt, which I should have looked up his character name.
I think you know the one you're talking about.
I don't know. I mean, we were talking about Booksmart. And so I want to go Skylar Gazondo's character.
Yes.
I think Jared is quite a big flirt. We mostly see him flirt with Molly, who he seems to have a crush on, so maybe it's just with her.
Yes,
but
okay.
He's very flirtatious. I would also like to give runner-up to Chacha Di Gregorio from Greece, who is the best dancer at St. Bernadette's. She is, the one that comes in. She's kind of the rival gang's lead lady.
Right.
Yeah, and she goes to the dance with Kinnicky.
She definitely does.
Yeah.
She lays it on pretty thick.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a quick vote in for Michael, who's the graduating senior during our freshman year in Fame. He's the one who just randomly out of nowhere decides to just plant a smooch right on Doris for no apparent reason.
Weirdo.
Other than that he feels like he can do it. Some pretty big flirt energy there.
Maybe an obvious one too is Seth from Superbad.
Silence.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Yeah.
Is he really?
I think that I'm trying to think of a word other than horny.
Yeah. That's it. You can just say it.
I think he has a lot of hormones raging around, but he is so awkward with any girl, Emma Stone's character included.
Yeah.
That I don't think he's a flirt because he's not good at it.
Yeah.
I think he wants to be a flirt.
Yeah. I think if he was a bigger flirt, I think he would have had more of the experiences that he was pining about throughout the film.
It's true. Odd as it is to say, I think horniest character maybe is the better superlative for him.
I like that. Awesome. I think we've covered a number of these people. So what do you say, guys? We finally put a wrap to this high school cycle.
Yeah, I think it's time to graduate.
I think so too.
Slow
awesome.
Ride
All right. Thank you. This has been really fun.
fun.
All right. Good night.